Ladies and gentlemen, the journey for focus, clarity, and mental mastery is about to begin. Live from WSIC Studios on the shores of Lake Norman, the show that gives you the tools to think sharper, sleep deeper, manage stress, and unlock your full mental potential. This is Your Brain Matters. And now, with over 30 years of brain science, more than 70,000 brain analyses, bringing neuroscience to everyday life, here's your host, Dr. Tim Royer.
Welcome. Happy New Year. Can you believe it?
Holy cow. Happy New Year.
Yeah, 2026. I'm wearing my Christmas present from Amy on my feet. These new white Allbirds.
They'll only be white for one day.
No.
Why did I buy those?
I don't know. They are so
impractical.
They're so snappy.
They are.
I feel very snappy.
Snappy for the new year.
Yes.
Yep.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For the Allbirds.
Always trying to keep it fresh. So.
And I see that you have your matching pair on. So when you bought mine, you bought some for you.
They were on clearance. Okay, great.
Oh, sorry. I got a little distracted. Hey, Your Brain Matters, guys. And it's Dr. Tim Royer here with Nurse Amy.
2026 and Your Brain Matters.
I cannot wait for this year.
I know.
I mean, we are going to unpack so much stuff this year. And you guys are going to learn, and we're going to learn, and we're going to work together to get our brains stronger. You know, this time of year is the time that we typically think of, let's get to the gym, let's, start a master class.
New Year's resolutions.
Yes.
Let's go.
Work on our finances, whatever we're going to do. But we got a challenge for you, right?
Yeah, we do.
We want you to think about, what are you doing for your brain? Because all these things are kind of downstream, and your solutions to how your body works as far as maintaining weight and health, your solutions to your finances, your solutions to all these things you're making New Year's resolutions, it's upstream, man.
Yeah.
It's in your brain.
Yep.
We start with the brain, and everything else starts to come together, right?
Yeah, that is so true. I was just talking to a client this week, and they had asked for a lot of advice about nutrition, things like that.
Yeah.
And I think he was thinking more about New Year's resolutions and stuff like that. And then I talked to him a month later after he had asked me all these specific questions. And he said, I kind of came up with my own answers, and I've been doing this, and this. And I was like, dude, that is like, I would have told you that, but your brain told you that itself. Like, you got your brain regulated enough that it was your brain is so smart. It was telling him the right choices. And so he was, doing those things and feeling better. And I didn't have to say anything. I just had to cheerlead him on, like, way to go.
Yeah. Actually, that's going to be when we talk about our case study at the end. We're going to talk about that, how parents focus so much on behaviors. But if we work on the brain, a lot of times these kids are smart enough to come up with some good solutions once we get them out of a sympathetic state where they're anxious and stressed.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about that later. But before we do, let's go through a few different things. So because we're all about the brain, we want to be thinking about learning. How can we learn?
Yep.
So we have, we're going to challenge you to read one of our books, which we're giving free copies away. Did I say free?
Again, he's giving stuff away for free. You guys mark that down.
I got to
we have 3 books. They're short. And then you could say, like, I read a book already.
Boom.
Check.
True.
Check that box right away. Text us at 616-341-2299. We'll send you a book for free. And then you can read that and check that off your list. So,
we have the 3 books. We have Forge Your Inner Armor. That's a great place to start. We also have Tsunami, which is the epidemic of anxiety and depression. And then my favorite, Extinguishing Einstein, which is about the epidemic of overdiagnosis and overmedication for ADHD. And more so, it's about how do we analyze the brain and how do we make the brain stronger.
Yeah. But I would say all 3 of them have
Yeah,
at their
do.
core learning.
Yeah.
So
True.
it fits really well with what we're talking about today. But any of those three, good stuff, easy read, and we'd love to give that to you. Another thing that we are super passionate about is our training of our brain
True.
through biofeedback, neurofeedback. And so for that, we'd like to be able to assess your brain. So if
Would love it.
you want to value your brain or understand and know your brain matters, you got to get some information. So we have our office in Birkdale, and we're still talking about our grand opening, and we're still offering the half price
Are
assessment
we
there.
still offering that?
We are. And to whoever is listening, we would offer that.
Yeah.
So you just need to go to
Yourbrainmatters.today. Yourbrainmatters.today. And from there, that will give you the sign up for
Yes.
your free assessment. Normally $500, it's $250. And if for some reason you don't feel like this meant anything to you, you can have a full guarantee on that. You get your money back. You can also use your HSA dollars, FSA dollars, because now it's the first of the year that probably got all filled up again. And what a good place to put $250 is to
So
understand your brain.
I hear a lot of things for free.
I know.
Yeah.
What are we doing? This
What-
radio, like we're doing this for free too.
Next thing we know, you're going to be offering free lodging in an empty room at our house.
Exactly. No, we love people. Let's go. If we can teach them and change their greatest thing they possess is their brain. One last educational piece is we really want to encourage you to go to RoyerNeuroscience.com and go to our resources section. What will they find in the resources section, Aim?
We have a lot of different recordings. We have long and short ones. We have some of those little snippets that are kind of fun to listen to. But two of the things that I really like on there are a lecture, just a 1 hour lecture, and then I like my nutrition masterclass.
Oh,
because
it rocks.
people ask a lot of questions about that, and I'm not a person to give you a list of things to eat. I would rather tell you, what things you should be looking for your well-being.
Yeah.
And that's all listed in there.
Tons of info, hours and hours and hours. So
An hour and a half.
no hours of education there.
Oh, okay, got it.
Yeah,
got
no,
it.
yours is an hour and a half.
I was
Yours
going
is
to say,
so good.
I don't have hours and hours today.
No, there's all kinds of stuff there. It's so fun to be able to just kind of go to whatever section you want to. Okay, so we have a quote today.
We
Special
do.
quote.
This is a New Year's quote to end all.
Yeah, this is from the production room, which is on the other side of the wall. They're the ones who make the magic happen.
Yeah, and this poor soul has been listening to every one of these episodes
Yes.
firsthand.
So this is from Reese in the production room. And Aim, why don't you read Reese's quote to us about why his brain matters?
Okay. Our man Reese says, first of all, it helps me succeed in all of the hobbies that I enjoy. It allows me to live, think, breathe, laugh, and love.
Oh my God. So good.
All of the things that make life worth living. That's why my brain matters. Drop that mic.
Go, Reese. But I mean, doesn't he really just capture it all in
That's all you need.
things that we love and get to enjoy and those relationships and hobbies? It's just he really nailed it there.
That's
why he's
right.
doing such a good job in the production booth. 'Cause
That's right.
His brain does matter.
Yeah. Let's all go in that direction. All the things that make life worth living. That's why your brain matters.
Let's
Okay, welcome back. We're going into the science corner. All right.
Yes.
And so we've talked about learning in our last episode. And now we're going to go one step further into how feedback leverages learning. So this is an area that Doc is, I would say, an expert in.
Oh, absolutely.
So we're going to let him unpack this.
Yeah. So the kind of the technical word for some of this would be behavioral modification. So how do you modify behaviors in a controlled environment? So, early on at the Children's Hospital, we'd have kids that were inpatient for long periods of times, and they would have different behavioral things going on that would be difficult for the doctors, like pulling out their IVs and, just all kinds of stuff because they were anxious, frustrated. And so you don't just medicate. You have to figure out how to behaviorally modify what's going on and adapt them to the environment. So there's different things. Last time we talked about learning.
Yeah.
We talked more about conscious learning like you do in a classroom, but also learning that the body is doing and brain is doing all the time because it's curious. It
Yes.
wants to solve problems.
Yep.
In feedback loops, in biofeedback and neurofeedback, it's more of a directed learning. Like I'm going to pick a specific target and we're going to modify a behavior or a physiological response based on specific feedback. But before I unpack that, I just want to unpack this word about feedback. Like, what is feedback?
Yeah.
So feedback is actually something we're doing constantly. Okay, just
Right.
stop for a second and think about how many feedback loops that you experience. Can you think of a feedback loop?
Oh, darn it. You just totally put me on the spot.
Ah,
But I'm just sitting there while you were talking thinking you can't really learn without feedback.
feedback.
So
Exactly.
I was lost in that a little bit.
Yeah.
So can you think of a one?
Yes. I think of stepping on the scale in the morning.
Oh, got you. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
is that a feedback loop, right?
It is.
Yeah,
Or stepping on a tack.
that's a feedback loop. Or stepping on a crack and don't break your mother's back.
Right. Both of those things, the scale and the tack and your mother's back, are all negative. No,
No,
not true. Not
no.
true. But they're feedbacks. Yes.
Yes. We look at a watch,
Yes.
right? I look at the
Yes.
clock. Like right now, you guys can't see this, but there's a huge screen in front of us, and this clock is ticking away, and it becomes kind of
Ah!
daunting at times,
Yes.
right? But that clock is a feedback loop that changes my behavior.
Yes.
I either speed up, slow down, develop a thought quicker or slower based on that feedback loop, right?
Yes.
And from the beginning of time, we've been doing feedback loops to learn. And the advancement of culture, agriculture, technology, engines, all of these things are feedback loops. We develop actually things that have their own internal feedback loops. Thermostats are getting feedback loops from temperature and changing your furnace and your air
Oh
conditioning
my gosh.
constantly.
AI.
Exactly.
Oh my gosh, because like I was doing that and you have to like keep tweaking the answer. Like that's a good answer, but now what about this? Now what about that? And then you can do a thumbs up or a thumbs down at
Yes.
the end. And I don't like to say mean things or be mean, so I'm like, I don't want to say the thumbs down
To the AI.
to the AI guy. So, but I'm like, oh, could you do this a little bit differently? Like, but anyway, yeah, so that's all. But think about how that feedback helps AI get better and better and better. Not that I'm super happy about all of AI, but it is pretty impressive.
Yes, and that's all created by feedback loops, right? We're working on feedback. How about in relationships, how we use feedback loops, right? We were just having a discussion about something that we were going to put together for our clients. And I'm looking at Amy, and I came up with an idea, and I could see just a tiny crinkle in her face. And I'm like, I'm going the wrong direction. And what I'm thinking about, just by just a tiny nuance of a facial expression changes the direction that I'm going to go. And it also changes kind of how I'm feeling, right? That
Yes.
we get feedback loops in relationships
Oh,
constantly.
that is so funny because when you were saying what you were saying in that example, I was listening to you and I didn't like where you were going with it, but I was trying not to
I could
show
see
you
that.
that I didn't love it. I was like trying to be open, but yeah, that's interesting. That's how well you know my face, unfortunately.
But we're doing you guys need to stop and think about it. Your life is a constant series, one after another, millisecond after millisecond of feedbacks. You drive a car, you use a speedometer, okay? You get input from your employee evaluation and you change behaviors. This is just happening constantly, consciously, unconsciously. Even my eyes get feedback from the light and
Yep.
change the size of my pupil
Mm-hmm.
based on feedback
Yep.
loops. Every cell in your body, the microbiomes that Amy's going to teach us about, they're taking feedback from the
Yep.
environment. Body temperature is taking feed. We're doing this all the time. And just because the commercial says the only way to solve this problem is take this pill, it's misleading because the way to solve the problem is to lean into the body's unbelievable, powerful ability to respond to feedback. If I can give it specific feedback to go in the right direction. So that brings us to this whole space of behavioral modification that's looking at reinforcement based on feedback loops. Okay, so a subset of behavior modification would be biofeedback.
Okay.
And that's a directed feedback loop for me to change something. So if I can look at my body temperature through a temperature sensor on my finger and put it on the screen in front of me and start to breathe in a slow way and start to think a certain way, what's going to happen to my body temperature? It's going to increase. And the more I see that on the screen, the more I can sift through consciously and unconsciously what makes me anxious or relaxed. If I get anxious, what's my body temperature going to do? It's going to direct the blood to my core, and my fingertips are going to get colder, and I can see that on the screen. And sometimes I might have a thought that I think is taking me one direction, but the feedback loop of the temperature rising
Mm-hmm.
lets me know, oh, that's putting me in a sweet spot, right?
Right.
And so that feedback, physiological feedback, starts to change not just my temperature, but my whole body. And we talked about all these systems and the cascade effect. Then I can take something like skin conductance, which is the electrical current going across my skin, which is what you use for a lie detector test. So when you lie and you can make up something that's not true, your body releases more moisture on your skin and the conductivity rises, okay? And so
Right.
you could see that right away, but in a feedback loop, I can start to see when I'm calm and focused versus stress and focus through looking at something like skin conductance, and I could start to get feedback about my body, no different than me watching the clock on the wall or watching the scale and that adjusting my eating patterns or adjusting the speed of how I'm pushing on the accelerator in the car by the speedometer through that feedback loop.
So I'm thinking about, in general, our entire population is probably stressed out. That's what we see the most of is
Right.
people coming in and their brain, we can see it in the EEG and in the heart that it's stressed, but they're also reporting stressed. So you're going to use the biofeedback to change that state.
Yes. And so with all, we can go from skin temperature, skin conductance, breathing patterns with our belt that measures how the diaphragm's working and start to teach the diaphragm to move and function differently. We can then interface with the heart rate sensors that we use to see how the heart is working, how the vagus nerve is working. And then kind of like our ultimate thing, is the fact that we use EEG.
Yeah.
So, and we're going to dive into this, over multiple episodes, but imagine this, okay? Just like you're using your scale, just like you're using your speedometer on your car, what about if we can look at your brain? This is what we do every single day, thousands of sessions a month with people, where they can literally, just like I'm looking at this clock or a speedometer, they can see how fast their brain's running.
Yep.
And they can see, oh, shoot, I'm going faster right now than I intended, just like in a car, right?
Yep.
And we can start to give them feedback. And we do that feedback initially back in the early 70s. They did it with a light bulb going on and off. When you go too fast, the light bulb goes off. When you go the right speed, the light bulb goes on. And the brain starts to learn this just like it learned to drive a car. We do the same type of feedback with EEG electrodes, except now you can watch anything you want to. So you want to watch your favorite show. You want to
Okay.
binge watch your favorite show.
Mm-hmm.
But the show will only play when the brain is in the right speed, okay? So if the brain starts to think too fast or it starts to lose focus, the show stops. And that is this speedometer or this feedback loop. And through really relative short period of time, we can start to change the brain waves that are upstream, related to anxiety through this process of feedback, which is how the brain is learning all the time.
So the brain, it doesn't really want to be stuck in that one space, but it doesn't know how to get out of it unless it can see itself. And
Yes,
so by doing the neurofeedback, we're able to nudge the brain gently in the more balanced direction. And that's where we get into that sweet spot.
exactly. And everybody's starting someplace different,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Like I had somebody that I just assessed in Naples a couple weeks ago where I thought for sure the brain was going one direction. And then I looked at the EEG and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're actually going this direction. So what we did was we said, hey, let's start to change the brain, the autonomic nervous system, to move more into a parasympathetic state. Welcome back, listeners, to Your Brain Matters. I'm Dr. Royer, and I'm here with my co-host, nurse Amy Royer. We've been co-hosting and hosting each other's lives for 37 years, right?
Wow. Yep.
Wow.
I know.
Unbelievable. Just
It's a lot of interaction.
it's a lot with a lot of feedback.
Yes.
A lot of
and a lot of
feedback.
learning.
Isn't that interesting? All the
Oh
different
my.
things.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about how like those subtle looks on your face and stuff. I mean, 20 years ago, or maybe 10 days ago, I wouldn't pick up on some of that stuff. And it's like, I can see it from across the room when we're at a party or whatever, you know, all those different
Oh yeah.
expressions.
Yeah.
And you can see the same for me.
For better, for worse.
Yeah.
On that one, knowing each other's facial expressions, things like that.
A lot of feedback. Lot of
Yes.
feedback.
Yes.
So we're going to go into the mind, and I kind of want to start with kind of how we got into the space. I wasn't necessarily trained in all of this stuff. Like the first 10 years of my career, I was doing the traditional division chief at this children's hospital, doing a lot of neuropsych testing, and I kind of thought that's what it was. You know, it was like, this is what I was going to do. I loved studying the brain. But then, you know, we talked about this before, is that I started to see, man, so many people are getting misdiagnosed, over-medicated. Is really medication the only solution here? Yeah, therapy's going on, but that's so far downstream. You know, we're not really changing the brain. And so I had a behavioral practice on the side, and I was doing behavioral therapy with kids and teenagers. And I was like, I got to add something to this besides just talking all the time, right? And so I knew from my early training about biofeedback. And I said, you know, let's try to add maybe a little biofeedback in here. So in the earlier episode, I talked about changing body temperature. And so I went to this little conference where you could get this device and they train you on how to measure body temperature, right?
Right.
And it was in Chicago. We were living in Grand Rapids at the time. And while I was there, I sat next to a neurologist who talked to me about EEG feedback. And I'm like, what the heck is that, you know? And, you know, this wasn't, again, something I went to school for or learned. I'd already been in my career for 10 years, right? And I came back from Chicago and I had like this case of all these like physiological feedback devices. Do you remember this?
Yeah. This is one of those crazy, who did I marry? What is going on with this crazy man? Because I was like 4 kids, stay-at-home mom, and he was gone for, 3 days, which seemed like 3 years.
Yeah.
And so I just was like, we didn't have cell phones, so I didn't know like when you're gonna pull in the driveway and everything. And so he came in, and I'm so ready to just hand off a couple kids.
Yeah.
And he's got this bunch of wires and equipment and stuff, which wasn't a normal part of
No.
our world.
Right.
He talked to people. That's what he did for a job. And actually, he had a really darn good job. Like division chief was a big deal in our town, and and our children's hospital was a big deal in our town. And I really liked going to dinners and
Yes.
fancy things with other doctors' wives and things, because that was kind of exciting and out of my normal day-to-day routine. So like I liked his job, but it was about to change. So like he came in, he was messing around with this stuff, and Tim is very inventive. So when I say like we do construction and stuff on the side. Like he's super creative with coming up with fixes and things like that. So I already knew that about him. But I thought he was just going to be conventional in his workplace, in his profession. But no, that is not the direction this was going in. So he was trying to figure it all out himself. So I'd come through the room. He'd have stuff on his finger, or he'd have it on his toe.
I took my shoe off and I had the thing attached to my
And
toe.
so I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm going to raise the temperature of my toe. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I'm a nurse. Like I understand the body. And I do also understand that Tim's feet are always cold in Michigan. So I was like, is this the fix? Because like I can get you some better socks, some battery socks or something. But so then he was messing with that and he's putting something on his head. He had a strap around his waist. I didn't know any of this stuff. But I was like, okay, I'll give him a little space until he said, hey, can Joe come in here? I got to hook one of these things on him. And I was like, absolutely not. This is our child.
Bringing the child in. I need to hook these things to him.
He was seeing 4 willing specimens in the room. And I was like, I got to put my foot down here somewhere. These
Protect
are
my children.
electrical devices. I'm like, what is going on? But the kids were very willing to have dad do these things with him. And so, yeah, this is where it began, everybody.
Yes. So we had these different physiological devices. And I remember the EEG back then, nowhere near what it is now, but it's pretty complicated to get a clear electrical signal because there's a lot of interference that can happen. So you have to use this like gel to kind of clean the surface on the head as well as the earlobes that act as a ground. And then you have to clean it really pretty well to get the oil and stuff off. And then you have to use this paste, which is like this very thick kind of, it gets on
toothpaste.
It gets on everything, right?
Yeah.
And then you put that on the metal sensor, and then you have to get that down into the scalp. And I can just remember with the kids like scrubbing their hair, trying to it hurts. And I clipped the ear too hard. And we're putting all these things on, right?
Not we.
I was. Okay, I was. True. And we're putting this stuff on, and then all of a sudden, like on my old laptop computer, I could see Joe's brain.
Yeah. Yep.
And it was like, whoa, wait a minute. This is pretty darn cool. And then I hook at Katie's brain, and it looks different than Joe's brain. But we've been parenting them the same.
Yeah.
And it's like, these brains look different. And then I hook up Elisa's brain. She looks different than Joe and Kate.
Yeah.
And then Audrey looks different. And then Amy looks different. And I look different. I'm like, this is pretty darn cool.
And the dog.
Well,
okay.
We did hook up the dog. Okay. So, what was...
Do not come over to our house
Back then, you couldn't come in the door of our house without us put stuff on you. But it was this awakening of everybody is so different. And as this neuropsychologist, I'm like, diagnose here, diagnose there. Okay, I diagnosed 20 kids today with ADHD and 10 kids with this and 3 with learning disability. It's like, wait a minute. They might have those things, but when I look at their brains, the etiology or the source of these things is totally different.
Yeah. Well, when we saw our kids' brain, I mean, we just had to laugh out loud because I read all the parenting books. I read them all. And some of the things that I tried with Joe would not work.
Not based on that brain, it wouldn't.
No way. And then I would try the same thing with Kate, and it would work like fantastic.
Right.
So then it made so much sense to me. Oh my gosh, I was just approaching Joe's brain wrong, and that you needed a little different style for him. And it was so eye-opening to me as to why I was so frustrated at times and why after we saw those brainwaves, Doc was like, throw away all the books. They're killing us. Because you couldn't put all 4 kids into one filter.
No, they were all unique, and their breathing was different. Their temperature was different. Their skin conductance was different. Their heart was different, and their brain was different.
Right. So it makes total sense that they would each learn differently.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
again, this is not something that I necessarily went to school, and most people aren't just taught this right out of the chute. This is stuff I had to go find out. But when that happened, it changed the trajectory of where we would go and what we would do with the human brain. That was 25 years ago,
Yeah.
right? And that those feedback loops that we now had access to,
Yeah.
the speedometer for this, the speedometer for that, the measurement for here. It was like all of a sudden somebody gave me this cockpit with all these dials on it that I could now fly the airplane correctly and not just keep crashing every time, because I had all this input that I could make feedback changes to them, to all the different people we work with.
Wow. That makes total sense. I love it.
Awesome.
All right. Welcome back, guys. We're excited to get to our last segment today on this New Year's.
Wow.
I can't believe it.
Right. And we're talking about how these feedback loops, and if you could do anything to help with the new year, is get the right feedback loops, not the wrong feedback loops, right?
Exactly. So we thought it'd be fun to finish up this topic with talking about when we first unleashed the power of biofeedback, neurofeedback into your practice.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had this, the original name of the company or practice was Pediatric Behavioral Specialist, right? And so we were doing behavioral therapy treatment, and I told you I wanted to go get this equipment.
Yep.
And so we started doing some of this biofeedback with temperature, not
Yeah.
just for my cold toes, but
Right.
for other kids to help with their anxiety.
Yeah. And by now, Doc had given up his position at the hospital, so I wasn't getting to go to any more of those fancy dinners.
No, all those dresses just sat in the back of the closet, thanks to me. And we could have had
No
so
more
many more
date
dinners.
night.
Yeah, yeah. All the Christmas plays.
Oh,
and
yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah. Now we're on our own.
Yeah.
So,
So
yes.
we're out here on our own. We're thinking, okay, we're going to get this thing rolling, early 2000s. And I start using this equipment just to kind of add a little flavor to the practice. And I went to that conference and they taught me about EEG feedback. And this neurologist, I'm sitting next to this neurologist, and he's saying, oh, you have got to use this for ADHD. And I'm like, what the heck are you talking about? Like, the only way to deal with ADHD is give the kid a pill.
Right.
He's like, no, you're going to literally change these. I wish I knew who that person was.
Yeah, right.
Right? Like,
If
he's
you
like,
could
no. He goes, your temperature thing's kind of cool here, but you got this EEG. If you start using that, says you will change lives with that. I'm like, yeah, sure, this guy's, what's he smoking? So we started to use the EEG a little bit.
Yep.
And I'm like, this is kind of interesting what's going on. So we need to kind of like be a little bit more formalized about this.
Yeah.
Remember this?
I do, because you pulled me in to work in the office a little bit.
Yes. I said, I need some help,
Yep.
AIM. We
Yep.
need to formalize this. I don't know if this stuff's real or not real. It seems kind of like little voodoo to me, or snake oil. So we picked 15 kids, okay, that had significant ADHD, clearly. And I was helping the parents manage the behavioral side of things, the medicine side of things. And so we asked the parents in these 15, could we do for 8 weeks this program, kind of pause the behavioral, they could stay on the medicines, but could we do this program?
Mm-hmm.
So we did it for the 8 weeks for these 15 kids. We did EEG feedback and we did biofeedback. So we taught them how to breathe, how to control their heart, and we did EEG sessions, I think 3 times a week, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we start like cruising along. What's this going to do? And about 4 to 5 weeks in, parents start coming in with a little bit more, hop in their step, a little bit more positive attitude, and like, Johnny's making some good decisions. Like, what? And the whole time I'm like skeptical on this thing. Like, I'm going to prove this neurologist wrong, right? We get to week 8, and all of a sudden we do the retesting. So I'm a neuropsychologist, all about data. We
Yeah.
use testing to make the diagnosis of ADHD. So why wouldn't you use it to measure the effectiveness? And I know that's something that most users, if you're using medicine for ADHD, you're probably didn't get a pre-measure, or if you did, you're definitely not getting a post-measure. And you need those post-measurements because that's what I needed to validate, is this working or not,
100%.
right? You got to
Yeah,
see the data,
you have to.
right? So we computer testing
That's
for
called evidence-based medicine.
exactly. And that's why this is a level 1 intervention. It's in the same class as medicine, but nobody's telling you that. So
Yes,
when this
because it
go ahead.
doesn't bring income to the insurance company.
No, or the pharmaceutical company,
Yes.
right? So it is qualified, this treatment, but you don't know that, even though all the evidence-based stuff is out there.
Yep.
And back then, we didn't have all that. So,
No, but we do now.
yeah. So we run them through, we go redo the testing, and all of these kids across the board are significantly better, to the point that I hadn't realized some of their parents had actually taken them off some of the medicines, and they were doing better than when they were on the medicines. And I'm like, you would think I'd be, jumping up and down, like, yes, we found the cure for ADHD. But I was like, somebody did something wrong.
Yeah.
There's no way that this actually fixed their brain. The only way to change their brain is through chemical alterations. So you guys got to understand, I have not always been in this position. I've been on the other side where diagnosing, telling doctors, hey, I'd recommend you go this route on medicine, this, that. But this time around 2002,
Yep.
changed everything with those first 15 kids, right?
Right.
And so I said, we're going to do it again.
Yep. And
We-
we did it again.
We did it again. And the same thing happened.
Yeah. Yeah. It was remarkable. And we had parents asking, can you do this for me?
Yes.
Because they saw the changes in their kid. And you just can't beat that.
Yeah. And then the next thing that happened, you remember, I'd be like, okay, we've got the study done. Your kid's doing better. Okay, now let's start the therapy back again.
We won't need it. Yeah. You ruined
li-
your therapy practice.
No, I literally went from 140 people in my therapy practice down to nothing within a year because we were doing neurofeedback and biofeedback first. I completely destroyed my behavior practice because these parents would come back and say, I can't believe it,
Yeah.
but he's making better choices.
Yeah.
He's I remember this one kid, Billy, and he was doing the neurofeedback, right? And he wanted to watch this music video that was on a CD or a DVD, and we put it in, and he's watching this music video, and the video is stopping and starting as his brain is focusing or not focusing, it stops. And all of a sudden, after about 4 weeks, I go in and the video is just playing constantly. At the beginning, it was going off and on and on and off, and it's playing constantly. And I said, Billy, what in the world's going on? And he goes, oh, I figured out that if I play the air guitar while this is going on, I could keep that movie playing. I mean, he didn't know all the science behind
No.
it, right? He says, if I play the air guitar, I am just dialed in, or he didn't say dialed in, but I can keep it playing, right? And I'm like, do you know what we call that? He said, no. I said, that's focus. See, for him, focus had always been, hey, Billy, focus.
Right. Right.
Focus.
He didn't even know what it felt like.
It was a sympathetic.
Yes.
He thought focus was a stress,
Yeah.
a tension, amphetamine-based, push me into this crisis mode. But when he got into that creative space where his brain was doing what he liked to do,
Mm-hmm.
that was focus. And I said, what you're doing right there is what we're asking you to do. And I said, Billy, put down the air guitar and just do that without you moving your hands. Oh, I can do that. I said, okay, I'm going to stop the video. Try doing it again. I'm watching the EEG. His brain's all focused. Just focus, focus, focus. Billy, when you take that test you've been talking about on Friday, I want you to pretend you're playing the air guitar.
Yeah.
Comes back in on Monday. Doc, I got an A+.
Mm.
And I
Mm.
didn't need my meds. And I'm like, we taught you through feedback
Yeah.
how to focus.
Yeah. And I remember like just whole family systems improving
Yes.
because the one child is not just kind of like causing absolute disruption to everybody's life. And then I'm always interested in growth and development and nutrition. And so that was also something we heard over and over again is if they could come off their stimulants, the kids can eat again. And like we had a kid grow like 3 inches in like 6 months. I don't even know if that's possible, but like that's how big of a change was happening. And just having kids not need to go to the office and take meds in the middle of their school day, just those kind of social
Yeah.
things that are so important for kids in that stage in the school ages. I just felt like, wow, we're doing so much more here than you could have done through talk therapy. I'm
Oh,
sorry, but I know you're pretty good, but
no, this was
it was
so much more
going into
powerful.
all the different environments. It was immersive.
Right? Pretty soon we'd have whole families. I remember one family that had their family was taking 15 together as a unit, 15 psychotropic meds. And within 4 months, we got the family off of all of these medicines through the treatment. We can't wait. We cannot wait to unpack this more with you. We just love what we do. Your brain matters, and this is such an important thing. So Amy's going to take us to the 2-minute drill with 1 minute and 27 seconds left.
Let's go. We got to go. So our idea for today for the 2-minute drill is that we want each of you to practice biofeedback. Okay.
Yeah.
So what you're going to do is you got to find a breathing pacer that you like. So there are apps you can get on your phone, or you can go on YouTube and find a breathing pacer.
Yep.
And then we want you to just sit in a quiet space, support your back in a chair, and breathe 2 minutes at a time. 2 minutes. See what you feel. See what you think. You're going to notice different things. Every person's going to be different, but there's no judgment in it. There's no like have to earn a star kind of thing. Just sit quietly and allow yourself to breathe in and breathe out and allow your brain to learn what does that feel like and how do I adjust my body in relationship to that breathing. That's where learning begins. You're going to feed your brain the oxygen it needs, but you're also going to kind of reset that autonomic nervous system speedometer, try to slow things down a little bit by using your breathing. This is the first and most powerful way to impact your brain, and your brain matters.